Hello Team FD and welcome back to Winners and Losers, the show we break down the biggest action from the weekend's football for your viewing pleasure. Joining me on today's show is Joseph Tomlinson. How the devil are you? How was your weekend, sir?
Mate, it was stunning. It was stunning. You know, obviously Liverpool lost the Champions League final. Forest got promoted. I went to that game. I went to a festival as well. Very, very good fun. How was your weekend?
Getting over a bit of man flu. But yes, it was very, very good. Thank you. Went to a wedding, went to a 30th. Feel like the summer is in full swing. And you know what else is in full swing, Joseph? The summer transfer market. Yes. And that is our talking point today. Apparently, Sadio Mane once gone from Liverpool after winning every trophy the English game has to offer. It looks like he might be setting his sights on a move to Germany. But before we talk about big transfer rumours, obviously some big games went down this weekend and it felt a little bit silly just to skate over that. Do you want any words on the Champions League final before we talk about who Liverpool could possibly sign to replace Sadio Mane should he leave, Joseph?
Ooh, I mean, it's absolutely delightful, wasn't it? It was absolutely delightful to see Liverpool lose that one. I'm not going to lie. No goals in 3 cup finals. Absolutely beautiful scenes. The pub I was in, obviously, everybody in there wanted Liverpool to lose. So it was a real, fun atmosphere, let's put it that way. But do you know what? I thought Liverpool probably deserved to win the game. It wasn't a particularly special, match, was it? It was pretty scrappy, I would suggest. Thibaut Courtois was sensational, but, you know, it's kind of marred as well, wasn't it, by those scenes pre-game, some of the disgraceful treatment of those Liverpool fans, then the disgraceful statements put out by UEFA. But, you know what, it's been there, it's done. I'm sure there's going to be investigations into those fan scenes, but I want to talk about Sadio Mane because I thought the timing of Fabrizio's tweet the day after, where it felt like maybe it had been leaked to him by the Sadio Mane camp, saying, you know what, he's going to be leaving Liverpool just one day after the Champions League final, despite the fact we've had rumours over the last few weeks. I thought it was a little bit off. Maybe that's just me.
I mean, he did tell the media in the build-up to the Champions League final, didn't he, that a special decision was arriving after the game. And Jurgen Klopp, I think, also stated beforehand, wherever Sadio Mane will play next year, he'll be a big player. So, yeah, I think ominous is the correct term to use. I think Liverpool fans are getting increasingly uneasy with this transfer story because it's beginning to build momentum, isn't it? Of course, Sky reporting this morning that he's not told the club in any official capacity that he wants to go, so maybe there is a flicker of hope there when it comes to him signing a new deal. But yes, a transfer fee is starting to be bandied about, 35 million. Bayern Munich apparently were waiting for the Champions League to come to a conclusion out of respect for Liverpool's preparation before they made their wanting of him public. Joe, first and foremost, do you think a move to the Bavarian Giants makes sense for Sadio Mane, given sort of their attacking roster? Would this be a good career move for him after 6 years at Anfield?
I mean, if he's not going to stay at Liverpool, who, in my opinion, the second best team in world football, then yeah, I think absolutely it makes sense. Lewandowski's obviously looking to leave. I've never seen a man push so hard for a move to Barcelona. Serge Gnabry is obviously into the final year of his contract, and there's plenty of rumours circulating about his exit. And you know what? He's conquered England. He's played at Salzburg before, hasn't he? Maybe he fancies a run at the Bundesliga as well. I think this will be a really lovely move for Sadio Mane if he gets it, but I think 35 million euros is cheap. I think that's too cheap. If I was Liverpool, I'd be holding out for way more than 35 million euros, despite the fact he's got a year left in his contract. He's still a stunningly good footballer. The second half of this season has proved that he is one of the elite forwards in world football. And I think, you know, for 35 million euros, why would Liverpool let him go for that? I don't see the positive for Liverpool to let him go for 35 million euros. They may as well keep him for one more season.
Yeah, I agree to an extent, particularly when there is, a bit of uncertainty around Mo Salah's contract situation. Although the Egyptian has said he'll be at the club next year. They are losing squad players in that department like Divock Origi. So I suppose there is going to be a need to bring in cover at the very least. But you lose someone like Sadio Mane, someone of his quality, and all of a sudden Liverpool are having to not just dip into the transfer market, but they're going to have to make a big old move to cover that void that he would leave up front. I mean, his numbers since joining from Southampton in 2016 for £34 million, pretty staggering. 120 goals, 48 assists. Of course, has collected 6 trophies in that time, all in 269 games. And the zenith of his Liverpool career probably at 18-19 campaign, where he scored 22 in league play alone. But to think he's done all of this while being rotated around that forward line, while probably being the bridesmaid but never the bride, playing kind of second fiddle to Mo Salah to an extent. To think he's done all this without scoring penalties as well, pretty mind-boggling numbers. And I think we need to put a bit more respect on Sadio Mane's name. I think his legacy will mature like a fine wine when he does move on, or if he moves on. Subsequently been linked with a few very interesting names. Joe, which ones have you seen that tickled your pickle this morning, and what profile of player do you think they should be going for to cover the wonderfully versatile Sadio Mane?
Yeah, it's going to have to be a very versatile forward, isn't it, to cover some of the output of Sadio Mane. Obviously, Luis Diaz has come in on that left-hand side, really hit the ground running, but Sadio Mane found a lot of his success through the middle. I mean, 10 goals in 14 starts, playing as centre forward. We can also see Mo Salah can operate through the middle. Luis Diaz can float across the front line, as can Diogo Jota. So I think they are going to be looking for an extremely versatile forward if they want to replace Sadio Mane. And to me, something that makes sense is Christian Nkunku. We've seen him operate across the forward line for Leipzig. He's very used to operating in a highly physical system. And I think he is the right age and profile for a Jurgen Klopp signing. So I wouldn't be surprised to see them go for a Christian Nkunku, who's had such a good season, reigning Bundesliga Player of the Year, over 40 goal involvements. Extremely impressive in Europe as well. Obviously, they've also been linked with Darwin Núñez. Very different profile, much more of an out-and-out number 9, although we have at times seen him float wide for Benfica, a very physical player. Ousmane Dembele has also been in the headlines. I don't really see that one happening. I'm not sure his body can withstand the physical demands of a Liverpool system. And we also saw Harry Kane and Heung-min Son kind of mentioned around Liverpool, didn't we? Harry Kane's not going to happen, and I think the Son rumour came off. If Tottenham didn't make the top 4, then potentially Liverpool were going to have a little nibble there. That would have been a sick one. In that regard, you know, I would love to see Liverpool have a little nibble at Gabby Martinelli. Every time that Jurgen Klopp plays against Arsenal, he is honestly banging on at this stage about how good Gabby Martinelli is, you know, how physical he is, how talented he is. Go and have a little nibble at him then, just to wind up the Arsenal fans. Obviously, this isn't going to happen. This is just something I would like to see, because I'd love to see Arsenal fans absolutely panicking at the prospect of losing Gabriel Martinelli, a little bit like they used to lose all their former stars to the top elite sides in days gone by. But you know what? I think if I had to put my money behind someone, I'd go Christian Nkunku. I just think it's a nice fit, isn't it, Nkunku at Liverpool?
Yeah, he has that release clause as well, doesn't he? I think in between 60 and 70 million euros. And if they can get 35-40 back for 30-year-old Sadio Mane entering the final year of his contract, I think that represents good business for FSG. As much of an emotional sucker punch it would be for Liverpool fans that have just become accustomed to Sadio Mane's excellence. I agree. I think some other outlandish shouts or out there shouts, perhaps Jared Bowen. We touted him for Manchester United on Sunday Vibes in that right wing position. You said you liked him because he was, you know, flexible, could play numerous roles across that forward line. Has starred for West Ham in a centre forward role, or a reserved centre forward role at various times throughout the season. So if we're looking like for like, perhaps some interesting similarities there, although it would cost an arm and a leg, you would assume, to get him out of West Ham, who have made it very clear that they'll be accepting nothing short of 120 million for someone like Declan Rice. So I think, 60 to 70 is probably the first offer they'd consider for Jared Bowen, their other prized assets. Guys, let us know who you would take as a Sadio Mane replacement in the comments below. We want to know how you'd conduct your transfer business if you were Liverpool's sporting director. Feel free to leave nice, big, long, detailed answers. Before we move on to our winners then, let's give way to some of the scenes after the Champions League final in Paris, because the Liverpool squad, Sadio Mane included, although he did look a bit pensive on the bus, they were received in wonderful fashion by the Liverpool fans. Let's have a butchers at that.
This is the Liverpool parade, and the Liverpool players are being greeted by their fans in their thousands. You can hear Calvin Harris go mental on the DJ box, but it is quite the atmosphere here. Absolutely opposite to what was witnessed at the Stade de France last night.
Our winners this week then are Nottingham Forest, who, after 23 long years of rotting in the second and third tier of English football, are back amongst the elite of the English game. They defeated Huddersfield in the playoff final, a match now reportedly worth £170 million. Unless we forget, Joseph, that their campaign started in disastrous fashion, didn't it? 6 defeats in 7 games, and the other result was a draw, I think, which was their worst start to a season in 108 years. And I know we've done an explained on it, which is very, very good, and people should go and watch that after they watch this. But just how good is the job that Steve Cooper has done?
Absolute miracle work. Has come in with 1 point from 7 games and get promoted to the Premier League is just ridiculous. And it's not as if, Forest were battering the playoff door down, either, is it? I think it was 2 playoff place spots in 23 years prior to this. And I just can't emphasise enough to take as many points as he has with the same group of players that were playing like that under Chris Hughton is just crazy. I was at the game yesterday. I thought Forest were good. I don't think they were spectacular. I think Huddersfield kind of huffed and puffed, didn't really get anything going. Obviously, could have had 2 penalties. Definitely should have had 1. But you know what? I actually wanted Forest to win that game. I wanted Forest to come up. I'm not ashamed to say it. The fans were epic yesterday in the stadium. When the final whistle went, the scenes, the limbs were exceptional. I do worry for them next season, because obviously a lot of their breakout stars, the likes of Jed Spence, Jimmy Garner, are lone players, and the core group of Nottingham Forest kind of stars that have got them up, how many of them are Premier League quality, I'm not too sure. But I don't want to be negative today, because they've got promoted to the Premier League, and it's just fantastic to see. So I think Steve Cooper is basically a wizard at this stage, Hamster.
Yeah, you used the phrase core group there. Only 12 players played more than 1,500 minutes for Steve Cooper in this promotion-winning campaign. So he has got a small squad. He has relied heavily on the fitness of key personnel. And like you said, if Jed Spence, goes to Tottenham, if James Garner's wanted back at Manchester United, if people start entertaining bids for Brennan Johnson, then maybe it will make it a tough old summer for him. But such is the job he's done already, you wouldn't put it past him to pull off another miracle stroke. I've got down here, let's cover the penalty incident in the 73rd minute. I think you've already smashed that out.
Yeah.
So let's give Vice-Captain Joe Worrell the last word on Steve Cooper in this wonderful interview.
Giving us that bit of belief. I keep using the expression of like a whipped dog. If you treat any dog with kindness, then they become a nice dog. You know what I mean? If you mistreat one, then they're aggressive, and we've been a mistreated team, and I think he's come in and he's given us that hope, given us that belief, and he's just been so nice. He's just killed us with kindness, and the fans absolutely adore him, and I've made up for him. He's fantastic. He must be feeling so happy, and he deserves every single quarter that comes his way, because he's been immense.
Our losers this week then come from Joseph Tomlinson on my WhatsApp, and it is Ralf Rangnick and Manchester United for the umpteenth time this season. But, accompanying this bit of news, it's not a result. It's just, I don't know, this is just a weird end to a weird working relationship now, Tomlinson. Rangnick expected to stay at United following his interim period as boss for at least 2 years in a consultancy role, making the rationale or the justification to employ him in such bizarre circumstances just about passable, right? But now he's off. He's gone, mate. What is happening?
Who knows, mate? Who knows? This perfectly summarises Manchester United behind the scenes, really, doesn't it? I mean, the idea of employing Rangnick was surely at least 50% based on the fact that he was going to continue at the club past his 6-month period. Otherwise, it was a totally pointless appointment, wasn't it? I do think this is potentially the worst appointment in Premier League history, alongside Frank de Boer. But de Boer only got 6 games, didn't he? Lost 5 of them. Ralf Rangnick's had 6 months. Obviously, the worst win percentage in Manchester United history, the worst points per game in Manchester United history. As I said on Sunday Vibes, I thought he was shocking as a coach. I thought, even some of his honesty in the press, as good as it was to call out some of the things behind the scenes, had a negative impact on a lot of our players who were challenging for top 4. And overall, it was extremely underwhelming. Extremely underwhelming. I didn't see any progression in terms of a style of football from him. So I'm not asked in the slightest that he's not staying. I'm not going to lie. Man United fans on Twitter in meltdown. Oh, we're losing Rangnick. I can't believe we're losing Rangnick. I'm really not that bothered. Apparently he's held this long conversation with Erik ten Hag, and I'm sure he would have told him a few home truths about, the players that are there and what they're like to manage in the dressing room, and that is probably needed. And his honesty at that level, I'm sure, will go a long way. But beyond that, 6 days a month, as a consultant, whilst he's the Austrian national team manager, I'm not that bothered. But I think it just summarises how bad an appointment this was, and this was John Murtough's first appointment as Manchester United's head of football. So, big question marks over him if Erik ten Hag doesn't go correctly as well.
Yeah, I mean, Erik ten Hag, just trying to read between the lines, did seem somewhat cool on the prospect of working with Rangnick, didn't he? In some of his opening gambits, opening interviews as Manchester United boss.
Yeah,
I think the quote was that that's between the club and Rangnick, right? Whatever was agreed prior to him coming in.
I think it's interesting.
So do you get the sense that he wanted a clearer, cleaner structure and didn't really want that hanging over him?
I don't necessarily know. I'm not too sure at this stage whether or not Ralf has decided that he doesn't want to work there, or United have decided they don't want to work with Ralf. I don't think it's been very clear, really, from the statement, unsurprisingly. But yeah, it was never going to work, was it? How can you manage a national team and then be a consultant 6 days a week? Like, what other club in European football has some sort of system like that? It doesn't exist. So I'm not surprised. I'm not that bothered. I'm just backing Erik ten Hag now. I think it's just time to get totally behind him and almost forget about this last 6 months, because United seem to write the season off at about January, mate.
All right, then, let's round off this week's show with our moment of the week, and we had to give it to Forest. Like we said, back amongst the Premier League elite. I love the fact there's going to be, another regional rival in there, a non-London regional rival in the Premier League. I'm all for it. But yeah, only right to give Steve Cooper, to play us out with a bit of Steve Cooper, who had this to say at full time to his players in the dressing room. What a job this man has done. Like this episode, subscribe to the channel with notifications on, and we'll see you next time. Steve Cooper.
A couple of things I want to say to you. All right, I'll just go back to that meeting that we had. We spoke about family. Okay, make sure you spend time with your family today, the people that have been good to you in your life, because there won't be anybody prouder than them. Okay? All right? And the second thing is, what was in the Premier League?